It says we're live. Let's see. If anyone is in the chat, please let us know that you can hear us, you can see us. Yes. Hi. It says we're live. Yeah. Let's see. If anyone is in the chat. Okay. Okay. Now I can hear myself. Hold on. You can hear us, you can see us. Let me just mute that. Yes. Hi. Good. All right. Okay. Without further ado, let's jump in. So, hello everyone. We are the TheJewfunction. After studying patterns in over 2,000 years of recorded Jewish history, hundreds of quotes by Jewish sages, even network science, we came to the conclusion that disunity among Jews always brings calamity to the Jews, as the months preceding October 7th have shown yet again. And also that absolute steadfast unity must be the quality that ensures our good future, as I think we're all feeling with this remarkable sense of solidarity and mutual responsibility, mutual guarantee that crossed almost every barrier between the various flavors of Jews worldwide and in Israel. Right, Seth? I think this is fair to say.
That's what we're seeing now.
Yes, and so this is who we are. I mean, we're the TheJewfunction. We've been discussing this for a decade with guests from every side of the map, including non-Jews. But I have to tell you, it's getting a little tiring every time to be defined by the next pogrom, right? Must we collectively be defined by the common enemy? Is there a better way? Is there a better definition? Are we closer to defining who a Jew is, what his role is in the world? That's a question I want to get an answer to. We all feel unity is somehow the key. I mean, it feels really good right now in Israel. It feels really powerful. But how can we extend that unity beyond the war? We haven't answered those big questions. What is the role of the Jew in the system of humanity? Can we gather around the positive instead of the negative? And for that, we're bringing together some of the best minds and hearts out there. And because times are urgent, we're doing this live. So I'd like to invite our guests to turn on the cameras and join the broadcast. We have a great panel today. Hello, everyone. So good to see everyone here. Let me tell everyone who we have here. We have with us. Actually, everyone here, almost everyone here, has been on one of the shows. Or if you've been following, you've seen them, with the exception of Dov Hikind. How are you, Dov? It's good to have you. Yeah, we've been talking on and off for the last several years. Dov has served 36 years as a New York State Assembly member, and he's the founder of Americans Against Antisemitism. We have Norma Livneh, that I know is a dear friend. She's a former Telemundo-NBC news reporter for the tri-state area, and she's an executive editor of the books New Antisemitism, Mutation of a Long-Lived Hatred, and Jewish Self-Hatred, The Enemy Within. Interesting things, we'll hear about that. We have with us Thane Rosenbaum, novelist, essayist, distinguished university professor, director of the Forum on Life, Culture, and Society, hosted by Touro College, and also legal analyst for CBS News Radio, and appears frequently on cable television news programs. You've seen the talk with him. He was a firecracker. We have Chanale. She was a singer-songwriter, host of the Weekly Squeeze podcast. And she lives in Israel. I have to say, I live in Israel. Norma is in Israel. So you have half the crowd here, half the crowd there. And we have AJ Steele, host of the AJ Steele Show, with us. So a great diverse crowd, as we like to have. And we have an hour. We have a lot to unpack. So I hope we can do it. Again, this is informal. I want you guys to really speak from the heart. We're not looking for political answers, analysis. We're looking for something new that will emerge from this. So I want to start us off with a clip that we also played last week, but we figured we'd play it again this week. This clip was shot 10 years ago, 2014. Okay, so we'll start with this clip and then we'll jump into the conversation. We can start talking about these questions that are so important to all of us. So let's go with the clip.
Check this out. Jews, the Jews. See what happened here? In your gut, something. You reacted, right? The idea, even the word, is something no one is indifferent to. But why? What's the story here? You think that after 4,000 years of recorded history, we'd have figured out this strange, almost universal hatred of the Jews, but we haven't. You know what? We're going to have to start to figure it out. We're going to have to try. The way the world's connected now, everything affects everyone. There's nowhere to hide. And that little problem isn't so little anymore, is it? That innate deadly hostility is exploding around the globe. And if we don't figure it out, it'll trigger a violent self-defense reaction, which is going to destabilize the entire planet, harming everyone in the process. You know, that whole never again thing. So let's stop pretending and fantasizing. Let's figure it out. Let's take the emotion out of it. Look at things scientifically, empirically. There are facts. The details of any experiment that's been going on for as long as this one has are considered as facts. So let's consider them. So what exactly is the Jewish problem? Is it genocide, their right to self-defense, envy, bigotry, tribalism? No. The problem is that no one, and I mean no one, including the Jews, know what Jews are and what their role is in the world, or that they even have one.
Friends, by the way, Leo, it's sobering when we realize how long we've been knocking on this door here. Friends, each nation, each group of people is a representation of its relationship with God. I mean, we could say that nobody really knows what God is, but if our God is a God of life, is a God of love, and we see now how their God, let's say mothers are willing to send their children and grandchildren to be martyrs. They scream God is great as they kill. The leadership pays a lump sum and a monthly stipend if your child martyrs himself. At their school and their school plays, they do reenactments of kidnapping. So what about us? If we say that our God, if we say that God says to us that we're a light to the nations, so what would Jews teach in their school in order to be a light to the nations? What would we teach our children? How would we arrange our communities? How would we relate to each other? How would we arrange ourselves in order to be a representation of what, whatever each one understands what that mean, what God is to us, but how would we relate to each other to be that manifestation of that here, today, tomorrow, in our schools, together, in our communities? So let's open this question up, and let's just go as the heart moves us here.
Well, today and tomorrow is not the standard, I would think. Today and tomorrow, everything is based on what's on the city streets of New York and other major cities around the world, and certainly what's happening in Israel. The question itself is the kind of question that had to be asked on October 6th. Now all bets are off. Jews worldwide are feeling more vulnerable. The whatever the anti-Semitic animus that existed before was, especially in North America, was largely dormant. If you weren't a Parisian or a Swedish Jew, you would have no idea what was happening to Jews of Europe. But today, the Arab street has come to America, and the university life has become very intolerable and defenseless for Jewish students on campus. So today, asking the question how we relate to each other seems to me a luxury and not of pivotal importance, given what's actually happening outside of our communities. Now's the time to not only express a feeling of Jewish solidarity, but Jewish self-defense. Because certainly in my 63 years, I've never seen anything like this.
I too have never seen anything. I'm a little younger than some of you, but I think what's most alarming is the intensity of it. That's really what's so terrifying. The rage, the violence. I mean, these people are out for blood. Like, what did we do? So there's a lot of, in a sense, self-reflection, because we're being so gaslit that we're actually starting to question how did we get here? Did we do something wrong? Is this a mistake? People are questioning their relationship with God over this. I mean, the left and the right, the tension, all of that tied into it, and the way it's affected Israel at large. I mean, there's so much reckoning to be done. I think we're just kind of like starting to grasp, the details, the nuance, the trauma of all of this.
Let me refine. Excuse me one second. I want to refine the question because we are we consider ourselves kind of avant-garde in this section around this topic, and we want to have we want to find out from you. We need to know from you. We count on you. What can the Jewish people be? We understand the IDF has to do with the IDF and all this, but who's the ideal version of who the Jewish people are? What are we?
I think we need to start talking, or we have to start looking at ourselves from a honest perspective, intellectually. I think we're very arrogant. We think that we can make peace with other people. We think that it's our fault that people hate us. It's a type of a moral dishonesty. Jewish people, especially those of us who live outside of Israel, have been passive for far too long. We've rationalized the people who hate us. We keep voting blindly for the same so-called liberal parties, which has quickly devolved into a proud home for anti-Semites. And we hold fast to some kind of a fantasy that if we keep quiet and we don't make any waves, we'll be spared. For supposedly smart people who are students of history, we sure have forgotten some of the lessons of history, some of which was less than 80 years ago. Stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, that's exactly what we're doing.
I want to say that we haven't done anything wrong. I mean, we, the Jewish people, everyone can do better. There's no question about it. I mean, about 5-6 weeks ago, we were tearing each other apart. There was such sinat chinam, such hatred in Israel, but not just in Israel, here in America as well. People being judgmental of each other, whether it's the Haredi community, looking at other people, or even within the Haredi community. At the price of over 1,200 Jews being murdered, we have brought unity to the Jewish community, almost without exception. I came back from Israel just about 10 days ago. I went there after Sukkot. The people of Israel united. There's no right, left. The people from Beri, the people from the south that I spoke to, I was in Kfar Aza, I was in Sderot. There's no more left, right in Israel. And how long will it remain this way? Maybe a very, very long time. The recognition that maybe we want to forget, what did we do wrong? What did my grandparents do wrong that they were taken to Auschwitz and sent to the gas chambers? What did they do wrong? What if Jews who were murdered in pogroms all over Europe for the last 2,000 years? The role of the Catholic Church, by the way, which is huge in terms of Jew hatred, which much of it adopted by Islam as well. So we haven't done anything wrong. I'm sorry. We're Jews. That's the problem. We are Jews. And one of the things that's different right now, I think, from my observation, and I think I'm older than everybody on the panel, not that gives me a special card, but, in the past, nobody wanted to be called an anti-Semite. They were, for Palestine, they were against the state of Israel. But the thing that has truly changed, and it hasn't really changed, it was always there, but now it's open in your face. You look at the streets of Brooklyn and Manhattan and all over the country and all over the world. It is pure, unadulterated Jew hatred. I'm sort of happy about it in the sense that the anti-Semites are telling us exactly who they are so that we can better deal with it and recognize that we need to be united, we need to be strong, we need to be unapologetic. One of the things that we're going to be doing in our organization is a major campaign for Jews to learn how to defend themselves. We've had 2 days of rage announced by our enemies, days of rage. And the Jewish community panicked, basically. My synagogue told women not to come to shul on Shabbos, et cetera, et cetera. You know,
Well,
our
we are vastly outnumbered.
our attitude should be bring it on, and we should be prepared to deal with it.
But
I don't
Dov,
know. We're vastly outnumbered.
but Dov, we have to have a paradigm shift here. We cannot play the victims anymore because nobody cares. Nobody cares for the weak. People feel sorry for us when we're dead, but when we're alive and we're trying to protect ourselves, we're being attacked for it. We have to stop being the victim. We have to stop pretending that somebody will feel sorry for us, because it's not going to happen. We need to start being strong. And I agree with you, Dov, but it starts with voting patterns. It starts with a behavior. I remember this stuff happening in the 90s when I was going to university in San Francisco. There were a lot of Arabs, and we have to call a spade a spade. It was Arabs, it was African Americans, it was the Black Lives Matter, even back then, that were attacking us. So this didn't just happen out of the blue. This has been brewing for a long time.
Absolutely. By the way, the only time we do very well with the media is when Jews are murdered, but it only lasts for a short while. Okay, after about a week of Jews being slaughtered, mutilated, things go back to normal. And that's the reality that we need to face. That is reality. And I'm with you. There's no shock on my part. I've been talking about a lot of these things for a very long time, but now I think the rest of the world is coming along to recognizing that whether you are a liberal Jew, whatever kind of Jew you are, the problem is you are a Jew. Period.
I wanna jump in on that, because I'm hearing, and this is I find it good actually. I hear a lot of a sense of despair a little bit, and I like it only because despair forces us to rethink everything, not because it's good. I'm an optimist by nature, but it forces us to rethink everything, and everything that we're saying. We're talking about them. The anti-Semitism has revealed its face. Yes. The world doesn't care about Jews. Yes. The media doesn't do us justice. Yes. Double standards in the UN. Like all those things I see. We're asking here, what can we do different? What can we do about ourselves? Besides the self-defense and all that, that's that's a patch. If the world decides to turn on us, we're done for. There's no question. It's like, if everybody decides to, okay, enough with the Jews, it's only 50 million people. Let's just ship them out, This could happen like that in an instant. Just like it happened in Europe 8 years ago. It can happen worldwide now. The communication is there. Everything is happening in an instant. I'm saying, what's the one thing left for us to do? And I feels like it has to do something with the connection between us. We all pointed to it, the disunity, the hate, but we kind of think this is a soft solution. None of us really thinks that this unity holds anything. I want to talk about that. Because listen, guys, we explore this topic. All the Jewish sages say this unity has something that can lift us. Network science shows it. Historic patterns show it. But yet, when push comes to shove, we let ourselves be defined by the negative, not by the positive. Why don't we campaign for that unity? Why do you think it's so hard?
Yeah, I would like to add on that, because I think in the last few days, we have realized how never again became once again, and how easily it became the same picture of the horrors that we saw in the Holocaust. So it's not that far. When people said you're exaggerating if you say that we see the same signs of the past, now we see it in the news. It's not in the news. We live in Israel, so we felt it. I think every family, every person, every Jew around the world felt that pain and that anger and the sense of despair. And it's insane, because we already have a country that is supposed to protect us. So it means that there are no exceptions anymore, and we have to open our eyes, and that's the reality. We need to face it. And when Seth asked about what's the solution, what we can teach to our kids, that's what I understood, is that if we pay attention to our nation's most traumatic tragedies, we'll see that the common denominator that unfolded prior to the eruption of each calamity was a total disruption of our common identity and essence as a people, as Jewish people. So the place to find a real solution not a cosmetic solution, but the real solution to the hatred we face is between us. We are by ourselves. This is what we see, that even in the news, as someone mentioned, even if it's, it grabs the attention of the public, if a tragedy unfolds in Israel, it lasts maybe a week, 2 weeks, and then something new, a new tragedy from the other side comes. So what I'm saying is that we need to rely on ourselves. That's what we have for sure. So everything depends on our willingness and capacity to unite. That's our real strength, our unity. And we need to nourish it, and we need to do our best efforts to make it happen and to keep it. It's not only, it shouldn't be something that lasts only a few days. It should be a permanent.
I was saying, going off what you're saying, but I think it's a primal instinct to unite in the face of danger. And that's really what we're seeing now. We're also seeing this cosmic shift in the way the secular and religious communities are working together. And we've spoken about this, about the tribes of Israel and how efficiently they can work together. And we're seeing it on the fields. I mean, we have the religious guy sitting, learning, tying tzitzis, delivering food, arranging tefillin. Avram Fried was in town. Shweki was in town. They were greeted with open arms. So that's beautiful to see how each tribe, their strengths are complementing each other and completing each other. So I think it's really clear more now than ever that we need all kinds of Jews. So instead of always trying to break each other down for why we're different, just relish in that, because look around, look at the talent. We have a washing machine truck, a uniform repair bus, the meals that are being delivered, the barbecue, the concerts, and millions of American dollars pouring in. So friends, this is what makes us strong.
Okay, great. So let's build on this then. So the issue is that we know if it was 20 people that got killed, God forbid, this would have never happened. It only happened because a certain number of people got killed, and also if they were just killed but not massacred, right? So it was a certain quantity and quality that broke the levee for us, and then this whole response is happening now amongst the Jewish people, this outpouring from the Jewish people. How do we reach some kind of where we bring out the best, whether it's the washing machine people, the musician people, the politics people, the army people? How do we bring out the best in all of us when we're not being killed prior to them coming to kill us? How can we find this passion, this power, this creativity, this energy amongst us? What can unite us before the tragedy? Can we do that?
One of the things I mentioned before, which I think is one of the biggest problems that I see, having represented the heart of the Haredi community in America for 36 years, is not being judgmental. People, whatever the differences are, I agree. The message is very simple, very straightforward. Let God take care of the differences. No individual has been assigned by God to tell me that I'm not doing it the right way. That's the kind of message we need to continue to push. What happened just now, look, human nature is human nature. How long will the unity last? I think this time it'll last a lot longer, but ultimately, in Israel, there's something called politics. All the political parties, there will come a time when the war is over and in a great victory for the people, for the Jewish people, things will go back to confrontation. I just hope it's not the same as it has been up until now. Again, it's what I hope for, is this new recognition. Look, we have a problem we should talk about, again, mentioned before as well. The people that we support publicly in political life. I mean, we have to be honest about what we see in the Democratic Party. The fact that young people in the Democratic Party, Democrats, the support for Israel is just about even. I mean, the support for Hamas and the support for Israel is almost even. It's beyond comprehension. What went wrong? What did we do wrong that young people watching what unfolded? I mean, the horrors. I mean, the things that when I was in Kfar Aza and taken house to house and room to room by a colonel in the army who described to me what happened in those houses. My God, I can't. So much of it has been public, but there's a lot that no one has described. The brutality, the horrors that were committed against human beings, against men, women, and children. And still you have, Jews for Justice in Palestine. I mean, you have women in Washington from this organization, women wearing yarmulkes. Forget about guys wearing yarmulkes. Women wearing yarmulkes to tell the world, we're Jews, but we're with the other side.
And then the Terry Carta.
Yeah, well, the Turcos are just total, very sick people.
Why are they still around? There's nobody who could take them out. I have a Bukharian cousin who might be able to help. I've seen enough of them.
Please, let me talk to him. I mean, look, they are, they've been out there every opportunity forever and ever, sitting with our enemies, going to Tehran to sit with the individuals that talk about murdering every single Jew. I mean, one of the things we just discovered, it's not about being a Zionist anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm not a Zionist. The people in the South, the ones I met from Berry, they were the greatest supporters of a two-state solution. They were the greatest supporters. They brought Palestinians to Israeli hospitals. You know what? When our enemies came across the fence, you were a Jew. That's all that mattered. You were a Jew, and you deserved to die and be brutalized.
And that has never changed.
The wake-up call.
That has never changed. It's always been that way throughout history. Now, I did listen to you earlier. You were talking about the Catholics and comparing them to the Muslim world. Let me tell you a quick story. I was in Hawaii a couple of weeks ago. I was visiting one of my homes over there, and I got lost in I would say a modest neighborhood. And I saw a church, and the church had the American flag, and right below it, proudly, they were flying the Israeli flag. I went on Sunday, the next day, and I donated some money to the church. And I talked to the pastors, and they told me, we pray for peace for everybody, but we support Israel. And I think the issue is this. Many of us Jews are more content with attacking our so-called enemies because they belong to the right or they belong to some kind of a Christian, outfit, but we don't do synergy, and we need to start realizing something that they realize in the Middle East: the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I think that's a huge mistake that we're making as Jews. We're not joining with people who like us, and for whatever reason, I'm not going to get into the rapture and all that kind of stuff, which we all know about. I think we need to hold on to people who care for us. And we need to start hating our enemies. And that's a big thing. We talk about hate. There's such a morality in Judaism that we cannot hate our enemies. But if you look at the Bible, if you read the Bible, there's a lot of hatred. I think the Palestinians, and I'm going to get a little political, but not too political, there's no chance for peace with his people. We live parallel lives. I always talk about this. Jews are arrogant because we think we can have peace with anybody. There's a way to work things out. Sometimes there isn't. They live on this earth just like us, but peace is not a goal for them. So how arrogant of us to expect them to make peace with us? At this point, it's us or them. It's that simple. But Jewish unity comes we've never had Jewish unity in history of man. So we're kind of trying to do a task that
but that's exactly it. Thane, you're sitting there on the sideline and you're listening, you're thinking, how do you see it? Because you're out there, you're in the media. What's the feeling that you have? Do you have any sort of a positive outlook on this?
Well, no, I have nothing but a sense of despair. There are no synergies with Jews. Look at the progressive movement. Look at the disunity on campuses, right? The attempts to sort of find bedfellows, the kinds of people that express the same sort of values that are Jewish values. Jews throughout America have been betrayed by the feminist movement, betrayed by the gay rights movement, betrayed by Black Lives Matter movement. In each instance, they were kicked out. They were part of the people that were marching at Jews were knocking each other over in the beginning of the Black Lives Matter movement, literally tackling each other. If a rabbi fell across the street, no one would cross the street to pick him up. because the Jews were too busy tackling each other to get in the front of the line of the Black Lives Matter movement, not realizing how much they were despised by the Black Lives Matter movement, but so sure that these people express and harbor the exact same progressive values, and that they would respond, in a sense of solidarity if something were to happen to Jews. But this has been a huge wake-up call for the Jewish left. I don't know whether they're smart enough. And by the way, for most of my career, I've been part of the Jewish left. So the only difference was I've always said, I'm part of the Jewish left. I'm just not stupid. Most people in the Jewish left were naive and stupid. And they just sort of assumed what you've all said, that surely we can, ingratiate ourselves. But in the end, that didn't happen. And one of, I think it was Dov that asked the question on universities, how did that happen? How did it happen was that Jews became on university campuses white people, and the most privileged of white people. And the fact that half of Jews living in Israel are actually people of color became irrelevant. The fact that all the movements to show that Jews have no historic connection to the Holy Land, all of those absurdities were all strategically created on university campuses, which frankly left the campus. I don't know how it got outside of the campus, but it left the campus and invaded major media and universities and corporations. It took over entities that we always assume, well, the students will outgrow this thinking. But what we now know is that on a university campus, Jews are white and they're colonialists. And the best example of their aggression, colonialism, and oppression of dark-skinned people is the Jewish state of Israel, which is made up entirely of stolen Arab land. That's where a lot of the ignorance is. And even for the people that are not ignorant, this is the green light. This is what gave them the green light to so openly conduct themselves like anti-Semites, not anti-Zionists.
So here's a question. Guys. Question is, what would be easier? To change the minds of 1.5 billion Muslims, or to change the minds of 15 million Jews? That's really what it comes down to. Because it sounds like we can't do it on the media. We can't do it, on campus. It's not that we shouldn't stop, but we can't seem to win those fronts. Can we win the front with us? Can we? I mean, it's not so hard. Only 15 million. Yes, a lot of disunity, a lot of infighting. But when you see the power. And I'm telling you, I'm feeling it on the flesh. I live here in Israel, rockets and this and that, but you drive around, there's signs of unity, there's people, it lifts you up. It's a real force. This is not some nice to have. It's not a good moral climate. No, this we're tapping something really powerful here.
I don't know. I think it's one of the advantages of being a Jew, that you have that feeling of mishpacha. I don't know if I think we're.
You don't know if it will win the war.
No, I'm just saying. I don't think we're understanding the role that social media is really playing in this, and we're understating what's actually going on online, because the speed that the blood libels are being spread in real time is astounding and terrifying. So everything that Mr. Rosenbaum was saying about the college campuses, it's just being multiplied by whatever the algorithms are on TikTok in a remarkable speed. And the mob is connecting, and they're collaborating, and they're inciting, and they have tremendous numbers. And even if we were super, super tight and everything was running like a well-oiled machine, and we were, killing it and winning this war, we'd still be completely outnumbered. Like, what does actually the unity bring us?
Okay,
if America betrays us, we could all huddle together, and then what?
Okay, so
that's a good question. Yes, Seth, go on.
Yes, okay, so just go on a journey with me for a minute, okay? Imagine the power of the Egyptian Empire at their height, okay? Imagine the majesty of the Roman Empire at its height. Imagine the Greek Empire. Imagine, I'm going through our history here. Imagine the Persians, Purim. Imagine the power of the Spanish during the Inquisition during that time. Okay? Imagine the might of the Germans. I think during any of these times, we could have asked this question: who the hell is this small group of people? And who are they that I should listen to their God? You know, who are they? And, you know, we go back to the first one, the Egyptians, right? Come to Pharaoh so I can show my signs and wonders. Like, I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart so I can show my signs and wonders. We have this X factor. We have this other thing. And let's brew that here. I mean, that's what Leo and I keep trying to push towards. What is it's we're not just, you know, one for one. There's not like one Jew towards, you know, we have a few million versus a world of billions. So going one-on-one is not going to be our win. We have to think about what happens. Who is this people? Through all of those empires, who is this people? What is this power?
We're
what is
God,
their God?
but the answer is obvious. We are God's people. Hashem is on
Okay,
our
but
side.
what does it mean? What does it mean? It says in the Torah, it says there's one rule. Remember? You guys all read the Torah once or twice, right? Love your friend as yourself. That's the one rule, klal, collective. That's the one thing that gathers all the other rules that we like to do, and the washing of the hands, and the doing the this, and the praying like that. There's one rule that includes all of them, and it's the one rule that we put aside every time. So, like, again, you know, we don't want to beat about the bush. Yes, we were saying we don't want to huddle like sheep when the wolves come. We want to unite as humans before there is even any sort of sign of danger. We're talking about a higher level of existence, guys.
And somehow we get some extra, there's some other thing that happens to us that sustains us through all the millennia, that makes it, listen, like, it doesn't matter what African village you go to, where you go in the middle of South America, there's some cross there, there's something, somehow this Jewish thing, through Abraham's children, through all this, it's spread to the whole world somehow. So what is this thing we have that we need?
And I'll just read this quote before you continue. The main shield against calamity is love and unity. And when there is love and unity in Israel and friendship between each other, there's no place for any calamity to apply to them. And the curses and torments are distanced by it. That was by Rabbi Kalonimus Kalman, Maor V'Shemesh. You know, just one of hundreds that speak about this quality. Again, not a moral issue.
You know, it can get a little overwhelming when you see what's going on in the world directed against the Jewish people. I mean, a couple of 100,000 people demonstrating in London yesterday, and we are 15 million, and 15 million with 15 million different points of view, as you know. So we're not just 15 million.
Exactly.
But the point is, clearly, we know our history. We're here. There are so many times in Jewish history where the Jewish people, you know, would have gone out of existence, like a lot of other of our enemies. But we are here, and we have a state of Israel. A state of Israel that can defend itself and is defending itself. You look at the beautiful soldiers of Israel, proud, you know, when people joined the army just now, when they were called up, it wasn't 100% of the people who showed up. It was people who weren't supposed to show up who said, I'm here and I want to be here.
150%.
That means putting your life on the line. That means sacrificing your life, possibly. That is the message of the Jewish people. Look, we have our differences. We have our issues. But we are the Jewish people. And I hope that the tragedy that unfolded, you know, I said 5-6 weeks ago that if we had had a Jewish temple, it would have been destroyed because of what was going on in the world. And, you know, what happened on October 7th, again, I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, I look up to the skies and say, God, how could you? How could you? How could you do that? How could you do that, for God's sake? But the point is, we are here. We are united like never before. And I hope to God that this tragedy will keep us united longer than ever before. And we need to work at it. And the most, you know, I always say that God is not so concerned about your relationship with him in terms of the Jewish laws. Yeah, we got to do our best to observe those. But he really cares about how you treat the other person. That's really what it's all about. Bein Adam li Adam, plain and simple. Respecting other people. You have a different point of view? Fine, okay. But do me a favor, don't defend God. God does not need you to defend him. Just be, I think we call it a mensch, being a mensch. That is before anything.
Or a woman.
If we are united, by the way, if we are united, you know, how many times does it say in the Torah, don't worry about the numbers. They will be more than you. They will always be more than you,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it.
Yes.
We need to believe that. We need to believe that.
But once the commandments, though, the Torah is what sets us apart. We are a light upon the nations because we live the Torah. And that's why we don't do such terrible things, because we have the Torah and it teaches us exactly how to behave and how to operate in all circumstances. And we see now the IDF, it's completely transformed into a religious army. I mean, there's Jewish paraphernalia in every corner of the army bases, on every tank. So let's not forget the role that being Torah observant Jews plays in our success as the Jewish people.
I'm just saying, being Torah observant Jews, that the most fundamental thing is how we treat each other. That's part of being a Jew that God wants. You know, like God can say to you, don't worry about me, okay? Take care of each other. If you take care of each other, you're good with me.
But none of that would have changed the events of October 7th.
Exactly.
No,
I don't know. By the way, we don't know, Thane. We don't know.
Mm.
All I know is that for a year, people were at each other's necks, calling to separate the country into two. As Dov said, if there was a temple, it would have been in ruins. So again, I'm not a smart guy, but 800 times Jews got expelled and pogromed. It was always after a terrible at each other's necks, including, by the way, before the Holocaust. We say, oh, we didn't do anything. Come on, Orthodox.
Imagine there's a hose. Imagine there's a hose, and water needs to flow through that hose to water a garden. We don't have to worry about how the plant is going to grow. We don't have to worry about how the minerals in the ground are going to organize so the plant will grow. We don't have to do any of the hard work. All we have to do is just aim the hose on the plant. Nature takes care of everything else. Now imagine if that hose has 1 million holes in it and the water can't get through. So we are actually saying here that maybe our unity, maybe this Menschkeit, whatever you want to call it, maybe that by doing that, the light of the Creator, this unity itself is our greatest weapon. That somehow, because face it, we're not going to. I mean, look at the accomplishments of the Jewish people. It doesn't make any sense through all these millennia. It does not.
That we're not being worshipped, right?
Well, by the way, one of the solutions. We need to stop encouraging our kids to go to law school and medical school and being successful, because our enemies hate us for that. You know,
you're absolutely right. It's all about jealousy.
Jews, you know?
It's all about jealousy. It's all about finance.
But that, believe it, I mean, that's part of it. The Jewish people have been very successful everywhere in the world. And it's not because anyone has handed Jews a special, there's no affirmative action program for Jews. There are no special privileges for Jews. And it's all very, very simple. You know where it comes from? You know the secret of the Jewish people? It's the parents who, from the very earliest time, the most important thing in anyone's life, education. That's the secret of the Jewish people, whether your kids are learning Gemara or whether your kids are, whatever it is, education. The secret of the Jewish people. It's open to everybody, by the way.
Norma, I want to hear from Norma, because she was trying to speak and she's just very shy sometimes.
I've been trying to talk, but I didn't want to interrupt. This is a very interesting discussion. And I've been trying to find some logical explanation of our very existence. I don't think there's a logical explanation. We are 15 million Jews. After 6 million were killed during the Holocaust, and after the Inquisition, and so many crimes against Jews, and we see it these days, unfortunately. So when we talk about our tenet or our law as rules as Jewish people, you mentioned a couple of them, and one of them, probably the most important one, is to be light unto nations, and that's a mandate we got as chosen people. So how can we become light to the world when we are disunited? And at the same time, it's our nature, because it's written in the Midrash that it is a well-known fact that Esau hates Jacob. So even back then, and then as you all know, the second temple was destroyed because of sinat chinam, unfounded hatred. So how can you explain to our enemies that there is a Jew behind a BDS campaign or an apartheid week in a campus? It gives some kind of legitimate reason for that enemy to go against the Jews in campus or anywhere else. So that's my question. And sorry for switching here the role, but being a journalist, I feel more comfortable asking questions rather than answering them. So I'll take your turn, Seth and Leo. And I would like to ask the panel, what do you think? What's the solution when we have such self-hatred?
Norma, go ahead. Chanale.
Well, I saw this great meme go around this week that one thing we Jewish people have learned these past few weeks is that the world doesn't care about us as much as we hoped, and we care about each other a lot more than we realized. So I thought that was, but as far as what we can do, I mean, let someone else go in front of me so I can kind of get the gist of the conversation before I jump in with my ideas.
Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think that, I'm sorry, Dov, the Jewish people were never united. So no offense to Leo and Seth, whom I think are wonderful people. The Jewish people have never been united, and it's a tall order to ask for us to be united. One thing we can stop doing, especially as Jews who don't live in Israel, we need to wake up. And I've been thinking about this a lot. What is it about us Jews? We'd rather be morally correct than live. I mean, if you think about it, it's almost like a social or a genetic defect. It's a fatal flaw of wanting to be right, even when being right is suicidal. Can the Jews unite is a very tall order. It's a tough question. I don't mean to throw a monkey wrench into this question, but there has never been a true time in Jewish history, and we can talk about Rome, we can talk about the people that opposed Moses in the desert. There's never been a true time that wasn't an era of calamity that the Jews were united. And even then, they're not 100% united. You know, Dov, I have a lot of friends in Israel, some very high-ranking people, judges. I talk to them. You know, the left and right battles in Israel are just the same. They're just underneath the surface right now. But the people that hate Bibi, for example, still hate him, and the people that love him still love him. I don't feel a sense of unity. I just feel a sense of purpose because they have to survive. That's the only thing I'm sensing, and I'm sorry to be negative here.
So no, you're probably 100% correct.
No, you're 100% right. And again, we're not being naive here. And AJ, you know, we talked about it. That was, you know, when we look at all the things, meaning when we look at what all the Jewish sages have been telling us, and we've been, you know, hard to listen to them. As you said, there's always been, right, this argument, these two sides. But guess what? You need two opposites to get the good stuff going, right? You need plus and minus to get the electricity going. So the trick is not to avoid the argument and to be like all one. That's being zombies. We're not zombies. We're Jews. The trick is to somehow keep this argument. Let those who love Bibi continue to love Bibi. Those who hate Bibi continue to hate Bibi, but not want to cancel each other. But to be like, you know what? But I love you, dude. And, you know, we'll get through Bibi or with Bibi or next, whatever it is. But I don't want to lose that love between us. Just like in a real family. Doesn't matter how much you mad at your parents, you come to Shabbat dinner, right?
But Norma's asking about the Jews who are defecting,
self-hating. I know.
The Peter Barnards, you know, like what do we do with them?
I don't think we start with them. I don't think we start with them. I think we start with the ones who can hear this. And I think that the one time that we really saw, it says that, by the way, it took, you know, Abraham says, how do I know that you're what you promised me is going to come true? And God's like, don't worry, I'll make them slaves for 400 years. You know, so we're not naive to what it takes. But when they stood at Sinai together, the whole nation at Sinai together, Rashi says, as one man with one heart. So regardless of what tribe they were from, or regardless of how different they are, there was something, and specifically by being one man with one heart was the condition for them to receive the Torah. So specifically today, regardless of how different we are, by trying to be together as one, we will be able to receive, right? You're supposed to receive the Torah every day of your life. You should remember the Exodus every day of your life. We all say this over and over and over again. We want to live into that somehow.
I think.
Let me ask you. Go ahead, Dov.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the question of we know that throughout Jewish history, there's always been, as pointed out, Moses, you name it, every period of history, there were serious divisions. But I think looking at university students, Jewish university students who have become so radicalized, the question we should ask, where's mommy and daddy? Where are the parents? I mean, are they having nachas from this, watching their kids support Hamas? Where are they? Where are they?
The kids are on social media. The kids are on social media. They don't have the relationships that most healthy people have with their parents. They're not at the table. They're checked out.
We don't know that. You don't know that. We don't know that.
We see them online. Kids from Illinois are at these demonstrations.
But I saw kids on the kids that you were talking about also dropping their phones and joining the army and finding suddenly that power and that unity. So to just say, oh, they're lost online, I don't buy that. Yes, we could do better with education for sure. It's screwed up the system. Yes, we could do better with the financial system, with media. It all needs correction, but we need to start with that. Let's make that our adventure, guys. This thing of like, can we, as AJ say, oh, it's naive, it's utopian. Can we do it? But did we try? What, the last time we tried to
start with the small group?
3,000 years. Can we do it again now? Maybe give it another go.
I like the concept of a small group. Maybe, it happens in the Bible, in the Torah all the time. God kills people who don't believe in him. They suffer consequences. Is it possible that we need to whittle out some Jews? Is it possible that it's got to be, and I don't mean to kill people, obviously, but is it possible that the core of what you're looking for...
80% of the Jewish people didn't leave Egypt.
True, exactly. So is it possible that we need to start from a new core, the small group, as you have said, that needs to be the new Jewish people? Recently, I talked to a Catholic, a very religious Catholic, here in California, and they're very angry with the Pope because the Pope has become very left-wing. And it seems like American Catholics, for example, are a lot more conservative and more supportive of Israel and of other conservative issues. And I asked her, where does this end? And she told me the Catholic Church will become smaller and smaller. And eventually many people will leave, but there'll be a core of Catholics that keep the religion going. In some ways, maybe that's our fate as well.
So the difference will remain, and we just need to rise above them to find a common ground.
And we should try. There needs to be, someone needs to come up with a concept that makes sense, that's realistic. It's not about getting everybody on our side, the side of right and justice and so on. But we can do better. And that's why I was talking about those parents. We never talk about that. All those students, who's paying their tuition, by the way? Do the parents care? Or maybe the parents feel the same way. And that's something, and I doubt that, by the way, but that's something I think we can make things better. Perfect? It'll never be perfect, but that's okay. And we need to be optimistic.
So
we've gone through difficult times, but it's going to be amazing, everybody. I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing.
True. And I'll tell you more than that. I think when people discover that there is a meaning and purpose that's outside of what they used to think, things change. We tend to blame people for, oh, you're stuck on a screen, you're online, you're going to some radical demonstration. What is the option for those kids? There is none. But if there was this new ideal, this new something you can aspire to, something that's going to somehow raise us above this level almost of this world, I would go search for that. Because every Jew has this little point inside of like, maybe there's something beyond, right? So I would go for that. And with that, I want to invite you all to this kind of sort of a closing act here, because we do have to close, unfortunately. I feel like we're just warming up. But last week, we started this new thing. One of the things that sort of everybody says sort of doomed the Jews in the 20th century was the protocols of the elders of Zion. So we said, why don't we start a new set of protocols, like the real ones, the ones that we would write, not that there was someone else would write about us. Again, not let them define who we are. We define who we are. So instead of the manipulation and domination and all that, let's make it about the principles that we want to uphold. So we're asking everyone here to take a 30 seconds, minute, think about it for a second, and when you're ready, to tell us what would be the one line that you would add to these protocols. And I'm reminding you that the top line is love your friend as yourself. That's that one rule. But underneath, everyone should include their own line. What would that be? What would be the one line you're willing to sign your name next to from now to eternity? It's not going to change with the political climate or whatever. The one line that you would put on those protocols.
At the
When you're
cool,
ready.
I'm ready.
I know you count on you.
It's so obvious to me. At the cool table is where the Jews sit. It's not at the other table. The Jews are sitting at the cool table. This is what you want to be. This is where you want to be prideful. It just seems that there's an enormous sense of a lack of self-regard, an intuitive need for Jews to sort of demonstrate. I call it moral narcissism. Look at me. I'm a Jew, but I hate my people. Doesn't that make me superior? Look at me. I planted a tree in Israel, and I used to love Israel, but because of what Israel does now, I can no longer love Israel. Ongoing efforts of Jews standing in line for others instead of standing in line for themselves. And part of it, I think, has to do with the sort of low self-regard. Jews should be saying, we invented the world. There is almost nothing the rest of you could do without us. Music, art, fashion, literature, it's us. And that is just not getting across. Instead, it just seems like Jews spend a lot of time apologizing for their success, apologizing for their white skin, apologizing for Israel stealing land, simply apologizing instead of standing straight and saying, we deserve whatever thing we got. That's our country. It's our country from 200 years before the ancient Greeks. It was our country, and it's still our country.
My message is Jewish pride, Jewish strength. That will get us the respect of the world. If we respect ourselves and we are strong, not afraid, unapologetic, that will work. And Thane, I want to thank you for the amazing stuff that you write, that I'm always reading, that is really beyond amazing. I thank you for that, Thane.
Thank you, Dov. It means a lot to me to hear from you, in particular, given your service to our people for your entire life.
Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll jump in. My message to the Jewish people, and it's the same message I give to my kids. I have 3 kids in college right now, and they are on the internet, they're on social media, and they still know that they're Jews, and they have not hated Israel or who they are. I think there's 3 things. There's tradition. I'm sounding like Fiddler on a Roof now, but tradition is very important. I think God, if you believe in God. And I think, what do they say to Israelis? Had a Bible in one hand and a weapon in the other hand. We can only be successful if we're strong and we stand up for who we are. And that's the key. And never be ashamed.
Right.
I would like to add that the world raises the bar high when it passes judgment on the Jewish people, because unconsciously it expects to set the standard, expects from us to set the standard of unity, to be light unto nations, to the world.
Am I next? I think my final statement on all of this is that every Jew, wherever he or she may be, every single solitary Jew in the most remote corner of the world must remember at all times that they are part of the whole Jewish people and that they're representatives of the entire Jewish people, the same people that received the Torah at Mount Sinai. And if we can do that and remember that like we're feeling it today, then we can use that unity, get rid of the labels, Orthodox, conservative, reform, just use the unity to work with each other in our service to each other and to God and, you know, to our people, to the world.
Seth, you want to add something?
I'm actually just basking in this feeling here right now. I'm really happy that I think that that we created something here, even on this small level. Like, you know, Jews, 15 million towards 8 billion. I even think here that the fact that we came together to talk about the unity of the Jewish people, that this should reverberate and, you know, concentrically in bigger and bigger circles and somehow make its way out. Also, the same way that the Jews, through every little thing we do, influence everything. You know, you hear sometimes, oh, we're going to boycott Jewish products. And then some, you know, clever guy online is like, yeah, okay, let's see you boycott this. You're going to be living, you know, on the sand somewhere if that's what you're going to actually do. So the same way, you know, this is part of our the contribution of the Jewish people is emanating this unity between us. I'm so grateful to be part of this, and I really want us to be able to make this happen without another attack. Preempt, you know, bring with all of this power. You want to put the Bible in one hand, a gun in the other hand, fine, but we're running towards our good future. We're not going to be chased by more attacks.
Willing.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I mean, what I love the most about these talks is that by the end, I feel like we're sitting around a table, we're having a good time. We never met, but it kind of feels good to be together. And I really do feel that there's a power here, and that power can help when we combine these little sparks. It can help us overcome our natural egoistic desires, our strong opinions and all, without eliminating them, just to kind of hold us above it. And I feel like there's a deep secret that's hiding here in plain sight, might I say, and that I think that we should. I'm asking, really, this is a personal request, that we all kind of keep it in our lives, no matter you all go, you do your amazing work out there, but to remember that the thing that might actually take us to the next level is there. It's not in that media war. It's not in the narrative war. It's not none of those places, because we're outnumbered. Only when we connect to that power of love, that creator, that God, that's when something amazing happens, like now. So
I'm Yisrael Chai.
So thank you, everyone, for being here, for taking the time. Thane, Dov, AJ,
And everybody be safe.
Yeah, stay safe.
Thank you, Joe.
Especially you in Israel.
Well,
Yo, and thanks for this forum. It's a wonderful forum. Thank you to the Jew Function.
thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon, I hope. Bye-bye.
Thank you.